Welcome back, Mere Mortalites. Mere Mortalites to another edition of the Mere Mortals Meandering Sessions back out in the park. Deep conversations with a lighthearted touch, and we definitely focus in on the lightheartedness.
Yes.
Juan over here, got Karen on the other side of the mic.
Karen here on this side.
If you are watching this via the video as opposed to the audio format, you'll see that I am holding the microphone as opposed to having it on a stand.
Why are you doing that one?
And I want to just begin with that because the little note I put down was, sometimes you don't see, again, we've talked about it in the past, but sometimes you don't see some of the challenges that goes behind creating things or putting things together, like a podcast. And I wanted to just talk through, I'm not going to go into it in depth, but basically we're having to do back-to-back episodes at the moment. So this is going to be the first of the two that we're going to do today. Primarily because our last attempt to go and do Meanderings, our fellow Mere Mortalites, was an absolute shit show.
It's a fail.
An absolute fail. We headed out to our normal spot at South Bank. We got there. Basically, one of the microphones wasn't working. We narrowed it down to the fact that it was the actual cord itself and the connection that was messing us around. Tried to go back home. Then we actually tried to do it in our own little studio to actually do it. Again, stuff which is messing us around. Actually, no, we came out here. Sorry, we came out here. Where we're doing it right now with a separate microphone. Still wasn't working. And we basically called it out. Like, we just threw in the towel at about 2.5 hours in on just attempting to actually do this podcast. So, doing it now. But
the funny thing, there was two things failed simultaneously. Like, you when I arrived there, you had already sort of somewhat set up some stuff, and you're like, we got a problem. The microphone, the boom arm, which we typically use, is not latching onto the chair that we normally put it on. So it was a bit wobbly, and it's like, oh, this could be a make or break. Not really. I mean, you could have just held it like you're doing right now.
Exactly.
But then the bigger issue came up was, oh, shit, this cord, like the microphone's not registering what's going on here. And then it spent, 20 minutes me testing out different versions of inputs into the computer, different cables onto different mics. It's like that game of just switching things over. Is it like red and blue? You combine this and it makes this color purple, and then you figure out all this shit. And then at the end, it's like, oh, no, we can't do it. So came back here for round two. And still didn't manage to work. But the question that I kind of brought up for me was, okay, obviously we've been doing now quite a few podcasts, so while it was a failure, or we failed to attempt to do it, we've also had some similar experience in the past, especially like our first ever podcast crashing, whatever it was, 40-something minutes in and kind of like redoing the last half hour. But if something like this occurred, let's say, a few times at the beginning, let's say episode 1 happened, then you had that issue in like episode 3 where you just couldn't get it to work for whatever reason, then again in episode 5, do you think that would have dissuaded you and been like, okay, this is a little bit too shit. Like, this is a little bit too time consuming. I'm gonna rethink this. No, I don't think so. I think that would have just been like, oh, okay, I just need to progress on. The main problem is equipment. We were starting with just whatever we had. So it was your
GoPro camera,
which was like fisheye lens, so it distorted everything. We were using, we're still using these same two mics, which until
surprisingly they've lasted a long time.
It's not even the mic, it's the bloody cable that screwed up, which is funnily. So those have still been good. And they were like
true.
The budget options. I don't think so. It honestly probably would have been a even better origin story. It's like we battled through
all these things,
technical difficulties, slayed the dragon, and then here's your content.
Continued on, Go and see the first 10 episodes and see just the amount of struggle that was involved in putting them together to what it is today.
What about you? Do you get dissuaded if you have an inglorious start to something? If you don't get beginner's luck? I've had beginner's luck multiple times for multiple things in my life.
As long as I'm passionate enough for them, or there's enough of a drive of wanting to. But that's the thing.
It's something new, so you don't really know if you're passionate for it. When I was first starting handstands, I didn't know if I was passionate for them. They just looked cool, and I wanted to do them.
Yeah, but there's some excitement behind you wanting to do it. There was probably, like you just said then, you thought it was cool, so it was something that you wanted to do. So at least it was that inclination to yourself of being like, oh yeah, I kind of want to do this.
Yeah.
As opposed to just I'm going to try out, I don't know, being a ballerina for 2 months and not actually knowing whether you're going to like it or not, or something. That's another example. At least you kind of have a going in position that, oh, maybe this will be good. Same thing happened with me with CrossFit, I guess. It wasn't a failure, but I remember the first session I did with CrossFit. For many years, I had this sort of mindset of CrossFit, they do kipping, maybe they do these other. I don't like really doing that. I want to do this other type of lifting. And then I was like, okay, I want to try it out. There's a couple of people who are training there who seem pretty strong. That might be a cool thing. And the very first session I went in there, it wasn't that I was expecting to do any good. I just was like, oh, I'll see what the session is. And the session like floored me, like absolutely destroyed me. And it was just lots of different moves I'd never done before, lots of high like level cardio, which just wrecked me. And I was like totally destroyed from it.
Well,
But-
I think that's a good thing for you. What if the first session you went in there just suited you to a T, and so it was all the moves that you're really good at, and that other people.
I would have just loved it just as much.
But you know, wouldn't that sort of dissuaded you in the other way? In that you're like, oh, what's the point of this? Like, I'm barely even raising a sweat. These
No,
people
definitely
are all
not.
struggling.
Definitely not. No. So for me, I mean, my original drive to go there was because
Sadist. He just wants to destroy people.
No, well, my original intention for going there was because I knew there was some people who were high caliber at that particular gym. So, there's a reason why I'm going to that Torian at the moment, as opposed to another CrossFit that's closer by, because it's the best there is in Brisbane. So, 1, 2, it was just awesome, like equipment and apparel and the space of it. So, it's good to like train in. But going in there, there was like three different like options. One, as you say, I kind of go in there. Maybe it's like a 5x5 bench and some other movements which are not super taxing, but I can kind of just breeze through them. I would have gone, awesome, I can do this, and it's got the cool staffing, it's got cool people, awesome. I want to keep doing this. What happened there was, the second option is, I went in there, it absolutely sucked balls, like this was terrible, I just sucked at all of it. I barely even finished like the first session, but it had still, the people were great. 2, like the space was really good, and so because I had some excitement around, I want to do this. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep coming back and do it, because there's like probably the growth side of things as well, that I was like, oh yeah, I do want to do this because I know that I'm probably going to suck at some of these. But maybe if the third option had happened where
Like the barbell breaks,
Well,
or like
no,
the
no.
equipment cracks.
something like that, like perhaps like if the equipment was faulty or the people weren't as great,
Yeah.
or something in that
you
combination,
get like a real asshole.
yeah,
yelling at you
then
or
it would have
something,
taken me away and gone, okay, this is now like validated maybe some preconceived notions of what it is. I don't want to go do that. Like
Yeah.
perhaps, what if I'd gone in there and gone, I actually can't do keeping pull-ups, but I'll just do normal pull-ups. And they're like, no, weak, you got to do keeping pull-ups. I might have been like, okay, preconceived notion, you guys like to do this, I don't like to do that. Cool.
Gotcha.
Which they're not like that. But yeah, I think if you're going at things like in the podcast, like I was like, man, I want to do a podcast. Like let's rock and roll and do this. So I think if there was a lot of issues that came up, I would have been like, good, like awesome. Let's just progress through them. Let's just try and get them done. But if you'd given me an example, I'm just going to pick something at random. Long distance running, like I'm talking, all of a sudden it's like, okay, start running 20 kilometer a day type of deal, maybe like 3 times a week, not like all the time. And first day I'm trying to get shoes break. Third day in, I've rolled my ankle, plus I've missed some other thing. Fifth day I'm out running and it's like raining and I'm slipping around. Okay, I might get a bit of a notion there and being like, okay, I'm not excited to do this. I'm just doing it for doing sake to try it out, and I'm not really enjoying it. And all of these factors coming into not supporting it, I'd probably go, okay, that's pulled me away. That's enough for me to be like, okay, I'm cutting that down. I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, gotcha. I got an example of when I gave up something that's important to me now, but it took me a couple of years to redo it.
Okay.
That was giving blood. The first time I gave blood, I went in there and I was just in a sort of like real chipper, happy mood. It was like, go like maybe make some friends, like talk shit with the nurses or something. Like just be more extroverted than I typically am. And I went in, they hook you up and they, I think I was a first timer or maybe this was the second time. And they, hook you up, put all the things, and you're just rolling like a little something in your hand. You typically just roll it. It's just to, I think, get the blood moving or flowing or just make sure your hand's doing something. And I was noticing my hand was getting like slightly numb, and I was just figuring like, well, sort of makes sense. Like they're literally stealing blood from my arm. It would make sense that the tips of my fingers
tingly.
or something that, would maybe be a little bit tingly, a little bit numb. And so just during one of their periodic comings rounds, they're like, how you going? I'm like, yeah, I'm just noticing like my fingers slightly numb. I'm guessing that's not, and then I'm like, I'm guessing that's normal. And like, obviously not normal because they all like rushed over. Like there was 3 of them. Like, how are you? Are you feeling faint? All of these things. And I'm like, I'm okay, people. It's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, what's the big deal? And afterwards, it just sort of ruined the experience, I guess. Like, not that it's the most funnest of experiences anyway, but I didn't come away feeling like, oh, you know, I did something good here today. It was like, that was weird. I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that put me off for like 2 or 3 years until I learned, like, okay, I think it's because they've probably had people faint and blood spill all over faint in the chair while reaching over and like blood
rip
spill
through the thing. Yeah.
I imagine they've seen like just when you've got like needles sticking into people's arms. I imagine things can go wrong really quickly, and so they got to jump on top of maybe like slightly weird concerns or things like that. So yeah, that put me off for ages until I went back, and then I sort of like, I've learned in some cases you just don't complain about certain things because you're just going to draw like bad reactions from people.
Yeah, the wrong attention from it.
Yeah, so like, yeah, if you notice something weird, like I don't know, on a train or a bus and it's like clicking or something, sometimes it's best just to ignore those things because it's just causes hassle for everyone.
Karen's just gonna get heart palpitations.
No. Like I'll be on the bus, and there'll be like a dude with a suspicious ticking noise coming from his bag. I can see wires poking out, and I'm like, this is fine.
2 AK-47s like strapped on his back. You're like,
you know the meme,
the fire.
Yeah, this is fine.
Shit,
that's gonna be my next meme creation. That one right there.
There you go.
I wanted to bring up a couple of things which some sort of value for value, and we're talking about the podcast, so some observations on that. So a couple of random things, and I actually had one just this morning, so I'm just going to add a 5th one to this list as we're speaking. The first one was talent. So Peter the Slab really pulled through for us, well, for me particularly, the other week. And he's probably saved me, I would estimate, about 50 times 5 minutes. Actually, I'm going to even increase that. 50 times 10 minutes over a year. So that's 500 minutes. However many hours that is. You know, that's 10 plus hours. And he did that through maybe 10 minutes worth of his own effort. It's hard to tell because time zone differences and whatnot. But it was essentially like, I had this Excel sheet. I wanted to use chapter markers from the audio, input it into there, and spit it out so I could just copy and paste it directly. And you and I tried this.
We were trying to like figure out what was going on there. We're like,
we're not Excel noobs. I'm definitely more than you are. But I've still used Excel for many, many years. And have played with formatting and different types, and I just could not get this thing to work.
Yeah,
gave it over to you, and like all we're literally trying to do, people, is change things from like number format from like hours, minutes, and seconds to minutes and seconds. That's all we're trying to do.
Simple, like seems like it would be simple. Seemed like it would be simple.
And so we spent 20 minutes trying to figure that out ourselves before we gave up. I'd already spent probably an hour the previous week trying to fix this thing, just gave up, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to spend this 10 minutes every week rejigging this thing manually.
Just to be able to do it.
And, you know, just real manual, like double click here, delete, double click here, delete, double click here, delete. Yeah. And then, you know, copy and paste individually. So he really pulled through for us with his Excel wizardry, and so there's just a reminder for those listeners at home. You know, even if you're like, oh, the mere mortals, I don't care about Bitcoin. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to, you know, send them value through that method. That's cool. There's totally tons of other ways you can do it. Peter just saved me 10 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, how much do I value that? I value that a lot, a lot. So. You know, if you hear us bitching about things, as we tend to, you can be like, oh, here's like an easy example. Here's an easy fix. I know this because I do a lot of Excel stuff. Or I'm with microphones and I know why I can't have the ATR 2010X and the other ATR or ATR 2100. I can't remember what they're called. I think they're actually written on here somewhere. I know why you can't.
ATR 2100.
Yeah,
2100.
Yeah. So the other problem we were having was we couldn't use that version of the mic with the new version of the mic, which was the 2100X, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
And I couldn't get both of them into the USB, even though everywhere on the internet saying, "Oh, this is easy. Just, you know, put these things in, use ASCII call and wrong." So if you hear us bitching about something and you're like, "There's such an easy fix," let us know, because that is super valuable, and we will immensely thank you for that. So,
and I was going to say, just a shout out obviously to the Discord as well that we have, which is just basically a stream of consciousness that we have interactions with people there. I mean, like, there's a few people I've actually joined on there. I actually haven't looked at the numbers, but it's actually, I think it's more than 10. It's more than 10, more than 15.
No, I think it's like close to 20 or 30.
Yeah, there's quite a few people there, and obviously we do put some conversations there, and if we're having any challenges or anybody has any challenges, definitely flag them there.
Yep. Another one was the chat was quite active, so that's been really encouraging. If you think back to our first live attempt, I'm not sure.
I do recall it,
I think Joey might have appeared on very briefly on that one, so thank you, Joey. But yeah, we actually had multiple people joining in and creating like their own discussion while we were talking as well, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool.
And I will just say, yes, once again, it's new. We had a dropout of internet, and so if it drops out, we will be back within minutes on another live stream. And if not, I will post it in the Discord. So
how much did that end up wasting your time?
Roughly
the fact that
probably an extra half an hour of just work to rejig things. Yeah, for sure.
Fair.
So still lots of work to ensure the convo flows, but I think it's a pretty good start for that. There's a props to you, Juan. So you remember the other week I was mentioning, there was this guy saying, I want to send you some value, but I don't have the Boostagrams and all that stuff set up. And we chatted about it, and you're like, nah, let's force them to use it. We don't want any cuckbucks or shitty fiat. He actually messaged back and was like, oh no, he was looking for a new Instagram app, and one in particular that could use Boostagram. So kudos on holding the line, Juan. That helps. I broke a couple of people's Boostagramming virginity this last week.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So that's one of the things I've been doing, and sort of like trying to help more people get onto the value that you can get, like the coolness of Boostagramming. What sort of shows do you think I Boostagram? So two in particular. I'm pretty sure I know one of them I broke their virginity because he told me. The other one I'm reasonably certain I did. What genre were these shows, I guess?
It's hard to just randomly guess. I'm going to say book review shows.
Okay. They were completely different. So one was called Science of New Growth.
Science of New Growth.
Yeah, I think it's Anthony is the fella's name.
Yep.
His was literally just a piece of music. So it was him singing a song, playing guitar. I can't remember if there was other instruments involved, but it was a song. And so there's a couple of artists, and I'll give a shout out to Ablecraft. They were the ones who first put their full album as Value for Value on. And so this was just a musician. So is it a podcast? It's in a podcasting format. James Cridland, his definition was a podcast is whatever someone calls a podcast and has an RSS feed. So by that definition, yes. So that was one of them. The other one was called Cauldron's Crypt. All right, so you know the name now. What do you think that's about?
I have no idea. Cooking?
No, close. It's a Bondism 101 podcast.
What?
BDSM 101 podcast.
BDSM 101 podcast. Yeah,
it's a podcast. Actually, I'm not sure if that stands for Bondism, because I know S&M is sadism, masochism. Yes. Maybe the B and D stand for other things. I've never actually thought about that.
Let me have a quick look.
So he'd appeared in the sort of podcasting 2.0 landscape. He'd sent them a Boostagram. I was like, and it was just really funny going on. And the funniest learning I would say from the BDSM 101 podcast, Cauldron's Crypt, was there wasn't actually that much sex talk in there. Like the biggest thing I took out from it was, if you're interested in BDSM, the most important thing is communication. It's like talking with your partner and sort of like making things clear what you want, what they want, how you're going to implement this. There's like a lot of pre-planning. So if you're going to do rope play, for example, you need to be like, okay,
set the boundaries.
set the boundaries, but also just physically, like, you know, are you going to have allergic reactions to the rope? Do we have, you know, the adequate supplies for this sort of thing? And I listened to, I think, 2 or 3 episodes, and yeah, it was just really funny. Like, that kept coming up. It wasn't the sex stuff that was the most important. It was the relationships between the people and the communication. So there's a little learning for you. If you're into BDSM, you're not going to get much sex. It's going to be you talking.
Yeah. That's actually the benefit you get from it.
I'm sure there's plenty of sex stuff in there as well. And the last one was actually, you literally just talked about the Discord. So I woke up to a message this morning from, who is her name? Nate Carly.
Carly. I did see her jump. Is that she joined in just recently?
I don't know if that's a girl's name. Nate could be Nathaniel as well.
I was going to say they.
We're very inclusive here. They just said, I'm going to say it's a guy. One, because the mutual server I share with them is the Hosky Discord. So
definitely
I haven't seen many. I think there's like one.
Definitely unique.
There's one chick one person with a girl's name I've seen in there. And then the other, and
one feminine male.
Yeah. And they were just like, oh, hey man, glad to join the Discord group. I really, 3 reallys, enjoy your podcasts. I look forward for every single one of them. Haha, very funny, but thanks, man. Thanks for your time. I particularly appreciate that. Thanks. I think that's
there you go. Very nice.
3 thanks as well.
3 thanks. I mean, the other one as well. I don't know if you actually read this message, but I'll read it out as well, just to shout this individual out. Obviously, this came on the back of my book review on which was it?
Gary
V's book.
12 and a half.
So this was Milo. I'm not going to call out his full name because I got his address as well too.
I like the name Milo.
Yeah, so Milo did send me through a message, obviously through YouTube, connected through on Instagram. He also asked to get a book for his dad as well, because his dad enjoys Gary Vee, so I'm going to send him not just 2 books, I think I'm sending him 4 books. So,
cool.
So the people that be saying, the one I sent 1 off to the US, I actually sent 2 off.
And how many books are you down to now?
I think I've got 30 left. 30 left, so there's still quite a few there. But yeah, it was just really interesting, you know, obviously asking a couple of questions about Australia, but leaves a little message saying he's sure going to listen to more of the podcast, saying we're doing a fine work of podcasting. So thank you very much, Milo, as well. Yeah, it's appreciative to see all those messages come through in whatever platform or messaging comes through as well, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure. Have you had many more like cool ones outside of the virtual realm? You know, people saying like, oh, I listen to your podcast, like work situations or things like that.
No, not any recently. No.
Nothing too much. No, I don't think so. I think it's because we've sort of been locked down a little bit this month. Like not locked down as in government regulations and things like that, but I certainly have not been getting out and chatting with new people at all. And so,
well, it's been how many times have I been in South Bank this month? Like once.
Yeah,
actually genuinely once. So we haven't actually been really out and about often.
Yeah,
to sort of share the message.
The reason we're not there now is because we're sort of doing a hatchet job with the new cable, which is extremely short. If we did it at South Bank, Juan would be resting the computer on his head or something like that. So,
yeah, exactly. So it would be an odd video podcast to watch for sure.
No, not as exciting and excellent as the normal ones. Yeah, I think those were the main ones that I... Oh, here's a question for you. In a group, do you hone in? So when you're in like a new situation, and you were chatting about this the other day, and you were saying, you know, you really like sort of intellectual conversations, especially if it's from a partner, someone you're with. Yep. And whilst you were saying this, I was thinking like, man, is that true? Because when I see you in groups, I don't see you particularly honing in to a single individual. Like if you're in a group situation, you are everywhere. You're like chatting with these people, then you go over to these people, and you're like, and what makes me think then is you're sort of, and the other thing you're saying is like you're not a fan of shallow conversations.
No.
But doesn't that sort of mean you're going to have shallow conversations if you're constantly flitting around groups?
No, definitely not. I don't think so. I think you can be, there's a certain balance that you can't be deep as anything, like a deep conversation straight away. Some people can. I can't. I'm not like the person who's going to be like straight away and be like, hey, tell me about life and death. Let's talk about it. Do you believe in the afterlife?
Yeah.
But
What's your favorite absurd philosophy?
Yeah, do you do BDSM? But in terms of like back and forth, I think definitely in like group settings, I will try and bounce between different people, but the conversations won't be oh hey, how are you? How's your day? What have you been up to this week? Like I'm going to take an example of like the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin meetup that we had in December.
That's what I was really thinking about. Yeah.
There was like one individual that I met literally like on the stairs. I was going upstairs, and I like again, it was bouncing between people, and I just sort of went over to him, said g'day, and straight away was just sort of talking about his lifestyle and why his lifestyle was what he was choosing and what he was choosing to live the life he was doing and stuff like that. So I went like pretty deep, pretty quickly, and we only chatted for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then kind of like bounce out to go and talk to somebody else. So yeah, I definitely don't enjoy, even if I do bounce around, I still don't enjoy the conversations that are very shallow or just like light on in terms of intellectual. But yeah, they don't get I guess as deeply intellectual as, or as deep maybe connectivity conversation as maybe you might have as a one-on-one that's a deeper one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I'm sort of the opposite. I tend to not enjoy going around and flitting around, I guess, like having too many things, like getting into a new group and then it's like, oh fuck, I've got to restart again, or like, you know, they're in the middle of a conversation.
I think
when do I interrupt? When do I, you know, etc.
Yeah, I think there's one thing about me that not that I do on purpose, but it's something that I enjoy. Maybe that happens afterwards, and it's the after effect of it. But I do enjoy building up a network and then knowing that network enough to connect the network. Now, I do that, like, so after that all happens, and I don't know if I'm actively doing that. Like, I'm not going out, say, to an event and going, I want to meet everybody so I can know everyone's connection and I can build a better network. No way I don't do that. But I go, I just enjoy, like, meeting all these people. And I guess the level of conversation that I do like to have isn't like, your name is Peter and you do this. It's like, oh no, like I want to know at least in a really quick conversation. It's like, it's Peter and you like to do this because of this and you are doing this, but actually you'd rather be doing that. And you know, if you were to find people that you need support from, it might be like these sort of areas. Now, again, I don't look for those exact questions, but I'm just like making up random ones. That's probably the sort of stuff that I would ask people. And then when I stumble across someone else, it's like, well, I took this guy called Peter and like, you know, he's doing this sort of thing. So I saw this recently with a mate of mine. Obviously he's trying to do a bit of a property build at the moment, and just funnily enough and having a conversation, and he was just talking through a couple of things, and I was in my mind, I went, I know like 3, 4, 5 people in like these different spaces that actually could help you out. And I'm just, again, connecting people up, helping them out. But I was like, I don't think I would have done that if I'm just having a conversation that's very like shallow in the sense of, you know, what are you up to? What do you do? Like, what are you doing this weekend? What did you do this week? You know, that sort of stuff. You wouldn't get to like maybe the real meat and potatoes of a human.
Do you follow up how these connections actually follow through? Like, are you setting up people and they all hate each other?
No. I don't set up people for sure. That's not what I mean. So I don't go, you should connect with this person and go and set up that meeting. No, I don't do that. Maybe it would be a good thing. Like that might be a supportive thing. I don't do that. But what I do is like, you need to know how much per square foot cost might be for the build, or per square foot for the marketing, or how much it should be in general market, or what does the market look like. I'm talking property at the moment. Then cool, I can go and ask those questions from these people that I've had a conversation about and try and get that information for you, and in exchange, see if they can provide some value back to you, type of deal. So that's sort of connections, I guess, as opposed to, you two should meet. I'll set up a conversation. Nah.
Gotcha.
Not to that level.
Gotcha. There you go. All right. Cool.
Very good, folks. All right, we're going to probably pause it after the meanderings for today, folks. So as you can see, I'll probably be holding this microphone for the next meanderings as well, because until we get it all fixed up,
you'll have a different shirt on. So
so you will not know the continuity, but that is how we work here at the Mere Mortals. We're through the magic of time, audio, and video, we bring to you the best quality material you can possibly find out there of other Mere Mortals. Mere Mortalites, how can you support us? Again, we talked about Boostagrams, podcasting 2.0. Again, do yourself a favor. We're not going to be putting stuff out there that can you support us through fiat? No, we're saying no, don't do that. We want you to support us through the platforms of Boostagramming, podcasting 2.0, or joining in a lot of the conversations through the Discords or through the channels, and actually being like, as Karen mentioned, if there's ways you can support us, we're complaining about something, or there's a different type of value you can provide to us.
There's
Cool.
the time, talent, treasure, which Adam talks about. So
Time, talent, treasure.
yeah,
correct.
so Peter had some talent. He managed to do something which was we couldn't do,
Correct.
and so that was valuable to us because it saved me a shitload of time. Obviously, treasure is sending in through
Boostagrams
Boostagrams and whatnot.
whatever. Yep.
And then time could be maybe you I don't put I put chapters for everything, but if you're like there's some cool artwork that could go with these, and you send me through a bunch of them, I would upload them onto the chapters. So I don't do that for the musings, for
Time
example.
would also be like if someone was wanting to go back and splice together, every time we've talked about NFTs and the journey of that NFT conversation that we've had and put it together in like a 1 hour, like these are the immortals from like knowing shit all to now knowing shit all, then it's like, then it's like wonderful, splice it together so we can listen and then we'll upload that, like for sure. That's also time as well. So in any way you want to help out me Immortalites, we are more than open for those conversations.
I'm very appreciative when you do.
For sure. All right, me Immortalites, we're going to leave it there. Juan out.
Karen out. Oh, yeah.